Hello everyone. If you haven't seen my videos before, my name is Neil. I have end-stage liver cirrhosis as well as some other neurological disorders and genealogy, I can't speak, some other disorders as well with it. I kind of wanted to talk today about the journey, the things I started noticing when they were happening that maybe I didn't notice right away. And I'm hoping that some of these things may be a sign that if you notice these things, or maybe you already have, that, they might throw up some red flags for you. Also, I kind of wanted to talk about, going through the personal struggle and the struggle of having disorders and diseases and things like that as well. First thing I wanted to do though was thank everybody that's helped me out with my GoFundMe. If you've seen any of my other videos, I didn't have a vehicle and I was looking to move. So I was able to get a vehicle, so I really appreciate all the help everyone's done, and I don't feel like I deserve that kindness, but I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart that it has. And also, as it's linked in the about section on the video, if anyone wants to help. I am still trying to move, but I've got to pay a moving company to do it, which is going to be extremely expensive to do. Even that, or get rid of everything I own and start over fresh. One of those two things. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I kind of want to go back to the beginning. I know that liver cirrhosis is mainly, people think of it as a drinking disease. I did drink, but I only drank about 2 to 2.5 years. And I didn't have a drop to drink before that for about 13 or 14 years prior. And during that time I did drink, I actually took 2 times where I went 3 months without drinking either throughout it. So I was kind of surprised when I found out that I had end-stage liver cirrhosis. So initially, and I noticed this soon after I started drinking, and I know now that I was already predispositioned for this because the issues run in my family. Also, I have another disorder that can be a contributing factor as well that I didn't know I had at the time. But I noticed my legs swelling. That was the first thing that I noticed. And this was only maybe 6 months after starting to drink, and I was pretty much just drinking beer at the time. And my legs would swell up, and I'd put them up and they'd go down overnight, and then they'd swell up again. And I noticed those things. And also I noticed that food would start to get stuck. Now that part has nothing to do with the liver cirrhosis. That's the other condition I'll talk about in a little bit. But I noticed those things around the same time. And then I developed some hernias. I actually developed 3 of them. 1 in the belly button, and then 2 in the groin area, inguinal hernias. Now, the inguinal hernias, the groin ones, aren't really commonly associated with liver disease, at least not that my research has showed me. But they are common with the other thing that I have going on. So I had those things going on, and they started out small, of course, and then it got worse. And throughout this process, I started noticing changes. The first thing I saw was my muscle mass just dropped out. I used to be quite strong, and then all of a sudden it's like my arms were smaller and I didn't have energy, and I was throwing up after every meal, and things just weren't going well. And what actually, then I also noticed that I had a lot of, the stomach was getting bigger, and I started looking into liver, and I started finding out that liver would heal itself. And of course my thinking was, well, if I just don't drink, it'll heal itself and this will all go away. No, at that point it was too late. This was about 2.5 years after that first drink. But what had really pushed me over the edge was I started running out of breath really easy. Like I couldn't walk 10 feet without, fighting to catch my breath. And at first I thought I had some kind of like pneumonia or bronchitis or something like that, because I do have asthma. And it was, the inhaler really wasn't working and things like that. And this went on for a good month. And my legs were huge at the time. And finally I made the decision to go in. And when I went in, the doctor told me that I was in liver failure. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And they admitted me and they pulled the fluid. They pulled, I think it was about 5 liters off my stomach and about 3 liters off my right lung. For me, the fluid kept building up in my lung for whatever reason. I guess that does happen to some people. Most of the time it's the stomach. But for me, I only had the fluid build up one time in the stomach. But the lung kept filling up over and over and over again. And for about 6 months straight, I kept winding up in the hospital. At one point, my longest straight run was 45 days, and I had a chest tube in because my lung just kept filling up so fast, and the fluid kept coming back with bacteria in it and stuff. So I was on like constant antibiotics, and at the time, they gave me like 90 days. They didn't foresee me living past that, and they did a board meeting on, doing a liver transplant, and I was turned down for that, not because of the drinking, because I didn't have a support system in place. I went through a divorce while this was going on, and went from one situation to another, and a lot of stress was built up. I even went through about a year of depression, where this was during COVID too. I was even in bed or buying alcohol for that year. It was pretty rough, and I did definitely drink way too much than what I should have. But I was in a state of mind that wasn't good at all. And if you're there, or if you've been there, so many of us have, you're not alone. Don't feel embarrassed about it. Go ask for help. Seek out help. Even the doctors will help you. If you're going through a situation where your alcohol withdrawals and stuff, you can go to the hospital. They do consider that a medical emergency nowadays. And there are things that they can give you to help you and try to get you back on the straight and narrow, back on that path where you're not dependent on those things. And this can go for a lot of things, drugs, choice of foods, and fill in the blank. There are many addictions out there that any of us could fall victim to at any different time. Now, granted, I know that I'm the one that picked up the drink, and I'm the one that drank it. Yes, and in that 1 year, and I didn't know it then, but there's a thing called hepatic encephalopathy. It's when your brain's being poisoned by the ammonia. And I didn't realize it, but I was in an altered state of mind. It was like somebody was driving the car and I was sitting in the passenger seat watching it all go by. Crazy point in time in my life. And I didn't realize it then, but I can see it now looking back, now that I know, these different things. So anyway, I wound up moving in hopes to get a liver transplant, and the situation I was in, who I was staying with, it didn't wind up working out, and I started feeling better. I started recuperating some from this. The liver will never get better, but some of those symptoms started going away. I still battle with ammonias going high and stuff like that. That's why the 2 drugs they give you is lactulose and Xifaxan. Xifaxan's a pill. Lactulose is a laxative that tastes terrible, but what it does, the ammonia binds with it because it's so sticky, and then you expel it out of your body. So but anyway, so then I wound up on my own again and stuff, and the swallowing issue kept getting worse. And throughout my whole life, I had always, been in pain, like my whole body would hurt from head to toe. I mean, all my muscles everywhere. And I went to a bunch of rheumatologists and doctors all through my 30s and my mid 20s, and they all told me, oh, it's stress or whatever, and they sent me away because everything turned out negative on the test. But then the swallowing issue started happening, and I went in and did tests for it, and they injected Botox into my esophagus, which kills the muscle. What's happening with mine is my esophagus is squeezing and not letting go. The muscles are contracting, I'm sorry, can't speak today, and then not letting go. It's a thing called achalasia. No one knows exactly what causes it. It is associated with a lot of things, but the doctor never told me what I had or what was going on. They just put Botox in and said, oh, in 6 months you can do it again. And I thought it had something to do with the liver at the time. And then it happened again, but this time I couldn't eat anything. I went 5 days without eating. I went to 5 ERs. I was sent away. I just kept going at it, and finally I wound up having to go on a 3.5-hour drive to a big hospital where my liver doctor is, and they got me in there, and they told me about the achalasia, and we talked about it and stuff, and they did the Botox and stretched the esophagus again, and it still didn't stop it. I still continued. And then I started thinking at that point in time, this doesn't make any sense. I've got these hernias, this body pain. Yes, I have liver cirrhosis that the doctor doesn't have an answer of what actually caused it. They did a biopsy and they called it burnt out because the entire core was no good. Why I'm still able to walk and talk, I have no idea. He said that it doesn't normally happen that way. So, I mean, the whole thing's been kind of a crazy journey. So I started thinking about it, and I started connecting the dots. And I ran into a video I saw on EDS, Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. And I'm like, this fits the bill. And I finally had a flight to get to a genealogist, and I got in with them. And sure enough, that's what I have. I'm still waiting on some genetic testing to come back that I had to do, but I definitely have a form of it. There's 14 different forms, and you can Google EDS if you want some information on it. Later on, I'll do a video on that to kind of talk about it. Basically, it's a connective tissue disorder. It causes hernias, which are like the inguinal ones, the groin ones. It can cause the esophagus to act bad and to grab and not let go, which I have. The full spread body pains. It does, stretchy, elasticy skin. Joints move in and out. Basically, the tissue that's supposed to hold everything together is loose, like a loose rubber band. And I've always been what you'd consider double jointed, and double jointed itself doesn't, it doesn't qualify you for that. There's a lot of other things involved as well. And like I said, I'll do a video on that at a different point in time as well. So I went and had this testing done and everything. But with all that said and done, I'm still in this position where I've got all these disorders. I'm on my own. So the question is, how do I deal with this? Because having a disorder and a disease when you have family can be stressful alone. And kind of doing it on my own here, it's not always easy. It definitely isn't. A lot of sleepless nights. I try to stay as positive as possible for a couple of reasons. One, I want to be positive for other people that are going through this so that they can see that you can fight with these things, and it's so important to stay positive because I believe hope and positivity go together. I truly believe that, and I can't fix the things that I have wrong. I don't have any control over those. I can just do the things that I need to do to, you know, go to the doctors, take the medicines, things like that, until it gets to that point where I'm in the position where I need the liver transplant, which will eventually happen. And hopefully I'm in a position where I can get one at that point in time, but I may not be. And that's something that I had to learn to deal with. And it is difficult. It most definitely is. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be down and be discouraged and be depressed with it. But you can't stay there. You got to find your way up. And for me, I found a purpose. I have reptiles and I take care of those animals and I love those animals and they give me joy. I tried rescuing for a while, but then I wound up in the hospital and had to give that up. You know, a lot of watching TV. I try to stay active. You know, right now during the winter, I'll go to the local like Walmart and walk around and things like that every day to get exercise, to just get out of the house so I'm not staring at the same four walls every day. You know, I find different things that I can do that are in my ability and in my power to do them. And I continue on. And I think that's important. Don't get comfortable. Don't get stuck in one position and stay there. Continue moving. You know, I got thinking about this the other day, but I don't even have a microwave. I haven't had one for 2 years. So all my food I make on the stove or in the oven or slow cooker, which really stops me from eating those things that have a lot of preservatives in them. Well, almost everything has preservatives in nowadays, but it stops me from eating TV dinners, microwave meals, and a lot of those things that aren't very good for you. I have to take time to cook my meal, and that gives me something to do too. It's not easy always with the hernias. I literally have to put a hernia band on and then I have to wrap duct tape around it to hold everything in. I can't have surgery. Also, I can't have surgery on the esophagus issue because of the liver disease. I've had 8 varices binded in the past. So they could hit a varice and then you could bleed out. So I'm kind of stuck with all this stuff. So I got to eat those things that I can eat that don't get stuck as bad. But it fluctuates. One day's worse than the other. But that's the EDS, the Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. It fluctuates. You can have worse days and better days and things like that. You can have flare-ups. And I've noticed that the swallowing issue goes with that as well. So these are the different things I deal with. And I try to stay positive through it. And that's all I can say. There's no magic answer. I wish there was. But continue doing research. You know, if something doesn't make sense for me, get a second opinion. Ask around. Do some research. But don't fall into the trap that can be Google, where all of a sudden now you have 12 diseases. When I did the research that I did, I found something that everything had in common, that I could say, okay, all these symptoms go with this. And that's what I did. So continue pushing on. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you watch it in its entirety, please follow along. I'll continue making videos as much as I can. Once again, everyone stay blessed. Take care of yourselves. And thank you so much for your comments and your well wishes for everybody who's commented on my videos. And take care.